What's happening?
I'm not sure. What's up, Tampa Bay?
Yeah, I think Juan is frozen.
He is.
Uh-oh.
We're we're
There you
having
are.
technical challenges apparently tonight. Well, good evening.
You're cutting
Wow.
in and out.
Mm-hmm.
Not good. Stacy,
We
jump
got
in
you.
real quick.
We got
Welcome.
you now.
Hello,
Okay.
everyone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks for joining
The
our
live
channel
show.
live.
Way to take the hand off, ladies. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we got you.
Awesome. I don't know what happened there. That was wild. We had all kinds of technical problems. But anyways, we are back. Welcome to Tampa Bay Q&A. Happy to be with y'all this evening. Got a really cool show for you guys. We got some updates on what's going on with the tax situation here in Florida, the property taxes. This has been a very hot topic. Last week, the select committee met. We're going to get into those details. We're also going to be talking to Madison about what's happening in St. Petersburg. She's going to talk about some hurricane preparedness, even though I do have a stat I'm going to share with y'all, which is really wild. I feel like the news anchors today basically turned into the football announcers who always talk about not missing kicks and stuff like that. You guys know what I'm talking about. Whenever somebody says that, you know you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Right? So we're going to get into some of that too. Stacy's got some really cool stuff happening up in Pasco County and up in Wesley Chapel, of course. And then we're really going to get in the weeds of this tax proposal potential cut. But y'all, if you've never joined us, we talk all things Tampa Bay, what it's like to live here, what it's like to work here, what it's like to play here. Now, few things we want you to know right away. We try to make this as interactive as possible. Right, ladies?
Yes.
Yes, we do. And we love it when you ask questions.
Yeah.
That is absolute truth. So when you guys ask questions, that's really what fuels this show. We make a lot of our videos on the weekends based upon what you guys are asking us here inside of this chat. So please feel free to contribute. Don't feel like any question is not worth discussing, because a lot of them are. As long as you are not vulgar, I'm going to read your question online for sure. So let us know where you're watching from as well. We have people watching from California, from Canada, from the Northeast, from the Midwest, basically all over the country and globally. I just got off a call this week with a couple yesterday, actually. They're up in Dunedin as we speak, and they're from the UK. So they were commenting on our live streams as I was on the Zoom call with them last night. So shout out to our partners across the pond over there. If you're thinking about making that move, we are here for it. So with that being said, I want to get into some of these topics, but first I have to introduce these lovely ladies here. All right. So as you may or may not be aware, we have the queen of new construction. Also heard her referred to as the queen of Pasco County today on a Google review, which was pretty fascinating. Talk about laying it on thick. Who are you paying? This is what I want to know.
I don't know, but they're setting that bar really high. Let me tell you.
That's right. I'm talking about the one, the only Miss Stacy Amon up in Pasco County. Good evening, Stacy.
Good evening, everyone. Happy to be here.
Absolutely. I'm reading these reviews because I wasn't caught up. We had 6 Google reviews that I didn't respond to. Shame on me. If y'all gave us a Google review, forgive me. I don't know how I missed that. I'm usually right on top of it, but there were 6 of them waiting. So I got to those, and boy, I'm like, they're laying it on thick in here. They are talking crazy about how good these ladies are at their job. And Stacy wasn't the only one. Half of those 6 were also about Miss Madison. And they're like, Madison's the greatest thing since sliced bread. And Madison's the most rock star real estate agent ever. And I'm like, I remember when they used to talk about me like this. I'm kidding, y'all. I am just joking. But we want to say hello to Miss Madison in Pinellas County. She's a St. Pete resident, and she is a rock star real estate agent. Good evening, Madison. How are you?
Good evening, everyone. I'm doing great. Happy to be here with you guys.
Yeah, it was a good day. As a team leader, y'all, I couldn't be happier when I see those things. So we are super proud of these ladies and grateful to have you guys as our clients, of course, and just super happy to be here. Shout out to anybody who's hanging out with us on Instagram. The live stream set up over there. We've had some technical challenges, but shout out to our followers on Instagram as well. And if y'all want to make connections tonight, feel free to, like I said, to put it in the chat. Our number is right on that screen there, y'all. If you've got questions for us or you want to shoot us a message, you can do it right there. It takes you directly to me. All right. So happy to do that. Let's say hello to our viewers, everybody who's hanging out before we jump right into these topics here. We've got the one, the only Mrs. Carol.
Hi, Carol.
Yep. Hi, Carol.
I feel like we need to do, we need the noises back so we can cheer for our people. What's up, Nick?
Yeah.
Good evening, sir. Good to be with you. Thanks for hanging with us tonight. We appreciate it. Patrick's in the house. Good evening. You did make it. You are definitely on time, ready to rock and roll. I love that. I'm assuming you're laughing at my sad attempt at fishing for compliments. It was so sad. It died right there. You know, it's just part of the deal. Good evening, Sandra. Good evening. Good to see you. Love that. We've got let's see. This is why jumping in the conversation in the chat is so important. There's a whole community over there, y'all. Ladies, do they or do they not support each other? It's crazy watching those comments.
Yeah.
I love it.
Cool.
Big fan of that. Big fan of that. Judgy Mick Judgerson is on with us as well. Hello from Michigan. Good evening. Brian's in the house. Hello, sir.
Hi, Brian.
Looking quite dapper there.
I know. I was going to say that is a fabulous profile picture.
That is serious stuff right there. Awesome. And then we've got Nicholas in the house as well. Good evening, Nicholas. Awesome. So I want to jump right into this tax stuff first and just kind of bang it out really fast before we get into some things happening on the back end here, because these are this is the never-ending saga. And the reason I keep talking about this, y'all, I know if you're on our live streams, you know this has been a hot topic, but this will seriously affect our lives as homeowners here in the state of Florida. So that is why I'm trying to keep you up to speed on everything that I know. Okay. And as of last week, the select committee that the government, the governor asked, he put together a committee here to put proposals together on it. Last week, Tuesday, Wednesday, they met. Okay. I was hoping to have something for you rock solid, like in terms of plan. We haven't seen that yet. All right. But there was a poll ran, a couple things we want to talk about. I'm going to share an article with you that I think is super important, because the comment or the question that we get most often regarding this is really about what's the likelihood of this happening, right? That is as of right now, that's the only question we can really even lean towards, because we don't have a proposal yet, right? Like, is it even possible? So basically what we're seeing here is not only is this noise, the smoke type of thing, but this noise is starting to become a pretty strong chatter and a rumble, I would say, at this point. And I'm going to share with you guys an article here that was posted by Newsweek just yesterday that points to some evidence that there is major support from Floridians as of now. So I think that's kind of important to cover. So I want to jump into this really quick, ladies, and I'll share this with you too. And for those of you watching later, I'll put this in the resources after the channel wraps up. If I forget those things or I miss them, please feel free to put a comment in the video later. If you are watching this later, feel free to subscribe too. That way you can be notified when we make these videos. We go live every Tuesday at 7. Barring any craziness that happens around the household or vacations or whatever. But we really try to keep you abreast of what's going on there. And Desiree has jumped in with us too. Good evening, dear. Good to see you.
Hi, Desiree.
Awesome. So let me get into this article really talking about Florida property taxes here. So Florida property tax cut proposal, a major boost. This was yesterday. AM is when this article went live. And I think that's important to share with y'all. Give some perspective on that. All right, so let me see if I can make this any bigger. That's as big as it's going to get. All right, so let's get into what this article has to say. As Florida lawmakers in Tallahassee discuss the possibility of abolishing property taxes in the state, a new poll shows that 33% of Florida voters are in support of such a move, while 45% would back a candidate advocating for it. Now, here's where the numbers start to get interesting. Hang with me, because there's going to be a lot of numbers thrown your way, but read through all the minutia here. That's the easiest thing I would say. So a strong majority of Floridians, however, do want to see some change when it comes to property tax, something that lawmakers in the state are working towards, though they do not necessarily agree on what type of reforms to implement, which we'll talk about why here shortly. The surge in home prices, and this is where it gets really interesting. What are Florida lawmakers doing about property taxes? And here's where it gets into it. The surge in home prices over the last 5 years has led to rising property taxes across all the country, which, no matter where you live, you know this to be true. With the Tax Foundation reporting that they rose nearly 27% faster than inflation between January 2020 and July of 2024. So I want to stop there for a second. Right? 27%. And if you guys are watching us over our Instagram, good evening. We're talking about the abolishment. To get back to this number, 27% faster than inflation. Okay, so am I back with you, ladies? Sorry, I know we're having a rough night.
Yeah, you're cutting in and out.
All right, my bad. But this is where we're at, right? So Florida property taxes have risen 27% faster than inflation between 2020 and 2024, which is just outrageous. Okay. According to a recent study by Redfin, property tax bills increased in nearly every U.S. metropolitan area within the same period. Again, not new news to most people. In Florida, they have risen 45% statewide since 2019. Now, that's prior to COVID. Okay. In cities like Tampa and Jacksonville, bills have increased by an even higher 60%, exacerbating the state's housing affordability crisis. 60% since 2019 in Tampa Bay. Now, that does fairly coincide with the 60% approximately we've had a rise in property values too, FYI. Okay. I'm going to get into some other stuff here in a second, but this article is really good. So 60%, that's just fascinating. Republican Governor Ron DeSantis said earlier this year that he supports the idea of completely eliminating the state's property tax, which I am in favor of as well. How is where we need to talk about, right? Which is used to fund services such as public schools, libraries, street maintenance, firefighting, and police. This summer, DeSantis created a working group to study what property tax reforms to be put before voters in 2026, including a potential proposal to abolish the taxes entirely. Such a move crucially would require a constitutional amendment backed by a majority of voters, which in the state of Florida is not 50%, it is 60%. Okay, so that's important to note for anybody who's watching this story closely. In the state of Florida, in order to have a constitutional amendment, we have to have a 60% buy-in. Right? Voters have to buy into it. Okay, so that constitutional amendment backed by the vote. Okay, while earlier this month, GOP State Representative Toby Overford told Newsweek that lawmakers were not currently entertaining the idea of completely abolishing taxes. Florida House Speaker Daniel Perez, also a Republican, told NBC6 on Sunday that the potential elimination of property taxes was still on the table and is one of the proposals the House committee is currently discussing. We put together, and this is the committee, we put together a committee that, Mr. Perez says, we put together a select committee with different proposals from raising the homestead exemption to potential abolishment of property taxes. And that would mean as an effect to our local communities. We are having these discussions every day. We come up with 5 different proposals here in the House, Perez says. I'll show you guys a resource where you can actually look at some of these proposals they put together. But the ones that they just worked through aren't public yet. The committee has already held 3 meetings to explore how to slash or eliminate property taxes. Perez added that the committee has not received a proposal on reform by either the Senate or Governor DeSantis, something which he suggests is needed to have a real conversation about eliminating property taxes, which makes sense. 8 months ago, Mr. DeSantis said we should reduce or abolish property taxes. I said, great, I'm in. Send me a proposal. What do you mean by that? It's very easy to say, I want to abolish property taxes. Okay, how? Right? That's what he says. Okay, how? Give me the language. I'm more than happy to work with him to get that product across the finish line, he said. And here's where we get into the meat of this. Great. We all talked about politicians before. We know the deal. We've got promises, policy, and plans, right? And you need all 3 of those things to happen. So right now we are just in promises phase. But here's what Floridians actually think. according to this study here, a majority of 66% of the Florida voters told the James Madison Institute that they are concerned about being able to afford their homes due to rising property taxes and housing costs. The share of concerned homeowners went up to 75% in Southeast Florida. So we're talking about Miami, Lauderdale, Boca, which makes sense. Those guys have the highest property values outside of Naples. 7 in 10, 72% of respondents to the poll said that they want some type of property tax reform, whether that's through significantly reducing or eliminating property taxes. 39% think they are a valid source of income, but should be limited. 33% think that they should be eliminated outright, and 20% think property taxes are critical and should be preserved. Here's the last line. Significantly, however, 65% of Floridians said that they would support a constitutional amendment to significantly reduce or eliminate property taxes. So this groundswell is starting, and I think ultimately this is what the politicians hope for, right? Is to get into the weeds here and start to get public support for it, because that's how things can actually change. Now, y'all, as you know, and ladies, we've been through this quite often, and y'all, thank you for your comments. I would love to know. Here's a great question. I want to pay property tax. Sarcasm. That's right. Hey, amen to that, Patrick. But I want to know from you, the audience, and you, the viewers, later, like, would you support, if you lived here in the state of Florida, or you are a Floridian homeowner, okay? And if you're not, I think that's important too, right? Because remember, this has to go to the ballot. So both homeowners, renters, anybody at the age of 18 who's a Florida resident will have the opportunity to vote on this, right? And the thing that I've heard both ways, which I find very interesting, is, and we'll get into how here in a second, but I've heard younger people say that is nothing more than a tax cut for the rich. Okay. And I've also heard other people say that too. Now, again, it's easy to say things like that when you're not confronted with a different reality, which is there are a lot of senior citizens in this state who have been on a fixed income for the last 20 or 30 years, and their property taxes have increased anywhere from 30% to 60%. Mm-hmm. And they're in a similar situation to how you may feel. And I'm not here to argue which is right or wrong. I just want you to be aware that there's usually more than one side to this, right? And I am here's where I do align with the governor perfectly. I don't think anyone should ever lose their home because of property taxes. Mm-hmm. You pay taxes on your home when you purchase it, just like television or whatever else you buy, cars, whatever it is. You pay taxes at point of sale. And you also pay taxes when you sell the property, which is not an insignificant amount, right? Right, ladies? We're not talking about, if you have equity in the home, you have to pay for that, y'all. So you're being taxed twice on the same thing. Now, I have to ask other people. I've heard a lot of things thrown around about this, but like, if the government came to you and said, we're going to charge you twice, 2 times for the records you own, and then we're going to charge you annually, by the way. Desiree, I'm going to come back to your question, but we're going to charge you annually, by the way. Music now? Just wow. We're having all kinds of technical challenges. This is fascinating. I don't know where that is coming from. Just so y'all are aware. Can you hear that?
Yeah,
we hear it. Maybe it's on the website.
I thought you were voting on the anticipation.
It might be. Yeah, that's a good point, Stacey. I think you might here. So let me pull this out of here and see if that stops it.
It kind of sounds like spooky Halloween music.
Wow, yeah. We're having all kinds of things.
Like I'm getting ready to walk into a haunted house.
Yeah, let me shut that down.
Yeah, we're good now.
Perfect. All right, now that's gone. Love to hear that. Okay. This is wild tonight. Okay. So getting back to the craziness, wherever we just let off there, what a wild thing to have happen. Okay. So as we talk about this, having somebody come in and think about this, right? Like they're going to come into your house and tax you every single year on every single thing you own. Who in there would anybody ever do that? No, we would lose our minds. But that is exactly how it happens for real estate, right? And for most states across the country, but there are other states who are really starting to take a look at this objectively. Now, y'all, I'm not here again. My point is not to argue whether this is right or wrong. Okay, I stand on the ground of no one should lose their home because they can't pay their property taxes when they already paid a tax to purchase it. Because we don't know how to manage our funds correctly, or we haven't invested properly. We always go back to the people, right? And the other thing is, I'm not going to try to pull up these articles because I think that's part of our challenge tonight. But what we have happening here is the government just was in town, right? So DeSantis's Doge was in town this week, and they just showed Hillsborough County, where Tampa proper is, y'all. And ladies, did you see some of those numbers that they were talking about? There's almost $200 million that they claim. I want to be very cautious about this, that they claim Hillsborough County is mismanaging in terms of your property tax dollars.
Whoa.
A lot of money.
Yep. This just happened in Dade County. I mean, they're coming to, and they're running the numbers, right? So it is interesting to see how these budgets have inflated, even though in some of these areas they've had a decline in population and a decline in property values. You know, so when you look at these things, you really got to keep an eye on this. Sorry for the music, y'all. Know what happened there. Let me see here. We got some comments. I want to jump into those. Judgy says, agree 100% on the homes that are lost due to property taxes and your reasons why. Yeah, I just don't. This is a personal position. I'm not telling anybody they should or should believe the way that I do. I just can't understand how in any world we are able to take away someone's property that they have already paid taxes for, period. Mm-hmm. Right. I understand the need to fund schools and police, and don't get me wrong, there's, and I also am not somebody here who is myopic and thinks that if we remove property taxes, that they're not going to come get it from somewhere else. Right. But you should not lose your home. That I am firm on. Right. And that is my position 100%. I will not change that. Doesn't sound realistic. How is the shortfall income be? There we go. So we're going to get into this a little bit, Sandra, because again, there's not a formal proposal from these guys yet. But I want to talk about some of the studies that have come through that I've shared over the last few weeks. But let me get into this. All right. Jeff says, if they do it, should only apply to taxes on your primary residence. Agreed. Ladies, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree too.
What do you guys think? I would love to know from the audience what you guys think. Primary residence, or do you think that someone should be able to invest and take those advantage? I don't. But again, you get to make the decision. It's your opinion, right? If you own more than one home, you should have. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Jeff, I'm in alignment. Right. I do believe this should be a primary residence of you or a Floridian. Right. So that is something that is super important. Not somebody who spends, 5 months and 9 days here and calls themselves a Floridian. Like, no, you have to have a Florida ID. Like, all those things are important. I'm with you, bud. I think that makes the most sense. Patrick says he agrees with Jeff as well. I do too. I think it makes the most sense. I agree with Jeff. They were get rid of property taxes on primary residence. Love this, y'all. Cool. Let's get into it. We got some more comments on this. Luscious Venom says, to my understanding, this will only apply to primary. People who own Airbnbs, rentals, snowbirds would still have to pay the property taxes. Yes. And to Sandra's question, I think that this is where we're going to talk about a few of these areas where we think where those property taxes are going to pop up, or I'm sorry, where the replacement is going to come from. So I'll share that with you here shortly, but I love that thought process here. In Oakland County, Michigan, they'll never turn off your water for non-payment, but they will roll your past due amount into your county taxes. Correct. They'll put a lien on you in Oakland County, potentially losing the property over the water bill, which is a whole nother situation. Detroit does that as well, Judgy. Again, for those of you that don't know, I'm from Michigan originally, Metro Detroit. Been here this will be our 7th year. We moved in 2019. This will be our 7th year here, and we still have a real estate team back home. So we practice with real estate back home in Detroit as well. So I'm familiar with the challenges around how they link these things together. And I'll talk about this in a second here. Does this apply to commercial properties or just residential? As of right now, again, there's nothing firm in front of us to vote on. It is just strictly residential that the governor keeps referring to. Primary residence only, residential only. That's what we're talking about. I think that's important. We say we're going to be where you are one day. All right. So let's talk about Sandra's question. Let me pull that back up for everybody. And this is it's a fair statement, okay? Because it's really accomplish this thing. And I don't have an answer for that yet, but here's what I have seen. So they've done studies on this in the past. Okay. The tax foundation says that if they were strictly to go off of sales tax, so that's one way to generate the replacement revenue. Okay. If they were strictly to go off of sales taxes, this is about a $50 billion shortfall for the government in the state of Florida. We have 24 million residents approximately, just so you're aware. So we're a pretty large state. Lots of revenue coming through here, but it's about a $50 billion shortfall from what I understand. Now, how will we replace that? My understanding if we were just to do tax revenue, the study said that we would have to go from a 6% sales tax to a 12% sales tax. Okay. So that's one way. Ladies, we ran this number about a month ago when we talked about this. You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And what the number was based upon the average property tax and those types of things is you would have to spend about $70,000 annually at retail. And that would equal somewhere around the same amount of money that you were spending on property taxes. And what we know is that the median household income in the United States is only $78,000. So that's gross. That's not net. Right. But, and I always, one of my favorite jokes is like anybody, whenever they talk about their income and it's gross because you're about to pay taxes. So that 78,000 probably turns into 62, 64, whatever the number is on average. But you would have to spend every single penny of that at retail to even come close to matching the property taxes currently. So that's one thing. But that is one way. Now, ladies, we've seen other things. I'm going to ask Stacy about this because this is going on in Pasco County currently, right? With the new construction properties that they built, they've passed along one of these taxes already, right? Mm-hmm. And what do they call that, Stacy? They have a fancy name for it. Do you remember?
Yep, they're called impact fees.
Yep, impact fees. So here's another way that they're going to look at generating that income. If you're going to move to Florida, okay, and buy a brand new construction home, that new construction is an impact on the community, infrastructure, roads, everything there. So they're putting that tax in there. Okay, so it's there already. Not all the communities have these and not all the counties have these, but Pasco County's been doing it for, I think, a year now.
Yeah, they passed it last year, and Parrish just rolled some out in September.
So either they're already doing this in preparation or they were just looking to generate more revenue. That's a way. So that's one way. Raising sales tax is another way. There is a lottery here. Again, when it's not a problem until people start doing auditing on your numbers and find out where that money's going, right? So I'm not accusing anybody of anything. I want to hear this, but I am for ridiculous amounts of transparency. And the Florida State Lottery generates a ton of income. Okay, a ton of income.
I think some of our scholarships are funded. The Bright Future scholarships are funded through the lottery.
Correct. And we talked about this because I think we were having that conversation the same night, right, Stacey? Our question is, will those programs be impacted? And I think they will. Yeah. Right. Now, you would have to grandfather anybody who's already paying in or pay them back at some level because they've been paying into this fund, right? So there's a lot of questions around this. The other thing that we haven't talked about is at the end of the day, y'all, like a lot of these counties have raised, sold bonds or they've taken on debt to pay for future liability or obligations. And our tax dollars are where they're paying Peter and Paul, right? And getting the 13th apostle involved, right? So like, this is where we have to look at this objectively. So I'm not in here tonight to slam this idea down anybody's throat and say it's the best thing to happen since sliced bread. It's the only way we should do that. That is not our focus of this evening. But I want to share with you what is taking place in real time around the topic and what's happening, in our world with this, because the reality is it's probable that we'll see some form of initiative on the ballot. We don't have a specific answer on what that is yet, right? But what we're seeing is Florida homeowners and more importantly, Floridians are saying that they would back this. All right. And that, I think that is important. Jeff says, raise the property tax on rental companies that buy nearly entire neighborhoods. Exactly. Yep. So he's talking about, these corporations like BlackRock doing build to rent. I'm with you, y'all. I absolutely think we should. That's where the spurs should be put down. I don't know if it would happen, but Jeff, I think that makes a lot of sense. We have a huge hospitality tax here. Another way that we probably will tackle this, Sandra, is they'll raise the hotel tax. They'll raise the taxes on people and on the tourism side. I've heard an argument the other side of like, well, that's really smart. Why don't you tax people, going on vacation to Florida so no one comes? But my comment is always the same. I've never met a single human being that didn't take a vacation because of what the sales tax is on their destination. I've never even heard anybody talk about it.
Yeah, it hasn't stopped Disney World, that's for sure.
That's right. Right. I've never heard a human say, I can't go to Hawaii this year. Their sales tax is 9%. I would never pay that. Right. It's never happened. It's never happened. So I think that these are fair questions to be raised. I think that some of them are off base, to say the least. But so be it. Here we are, right? We just got to work through it as a team. So I wanted to share that update with you guys. Forgive me for being a little long-winded here, but we're sharing different ways that we're seeing this. If we get any notification on potential ballot initiatives, I'm going to pass that along on our live streams. I'm also going to make sure that Stacy and Madison and Ashley and our whole team have access to that information. If you're on our email list, off to you. If you want to know how to get on the email list, you can go to thattampalife.com. If you're watching this on the tube at home, we got something really new and fancy. I think it's going to cover my face. Check that out. Pull out the old phony phone. Pew, pew. You just scan it. You're good to go. It'll take you right there. Take you right there. So, yeah. Happy to have that up tonight. If you guys got questions, like I said, feel free to connect with us directly. And these are great questions that are coming in. Tim's got another one. If we pay CDDs and HOAs, why property taxes too? Brother, it's like I said, it's a giant shell game. Some of these things are. I mean, we talk about this often, but like a CDD fee is exactly one of those bonds that I was talking about just a minute ago. So what happens, for those of you who aren't aware, a CDD fee is a community development district fee. Charlie Delta Delta. That is what that means. Now, that's a fancy term for another tax. Okay, we're going to get into that here in a second. Boy, they make them sound so pretty. HOA, tax. Right? So that's what these things are. There is also conversation about HOAs. That's for another time. But the CDD, the way the CDD works typically, not always, but the way it works is a developer such as Lennar Homes, right? We'll go to Pasco County and they say, hey, we want to buy this 300 acre parcel. We want to develop it, put 3,000 homes, whatever their number is, right? We want to put these homes on it. And what will happen is Pasco County says, okay, fine. In order to do that, you have to put in the roads. You have to put in the plumbing. You have to put in the retention ponds. You have to put in all the electrical. You have to put in all of the internet and cable ahead of time in infrastructure. That is 100% your responsibility. Now, most home developers, aren't in the business of necessarily doing infrastructure, but more importantly, this is a humongous expense. That's why the county turns around and says, you can do it as long as you pay for it. Right? Well, not all of them can, and a majority of them can't. And even if they could, they've found a way to pass it along to you and I, which is, hey, county, Pasco County, how about you loan us that money? We're happy to build your roads for you. We're happy to build your retention ponds, your sewer systems. We're happy. We'll abide by that, but you got to loan us the money. or at least a large portion of it. So what happens is the government issues a bond, because that's how they generate revenue, because they don't produce anything, y'all. Our government produces nothing. But they issue a bond and they hand out this loan, right? So they go out and sell that to the public, and then they turn around and they take that money and hand it over to the developer so they can develop the infrastructure. Okay, that I realize there was a little bit of a detour there, but it's important to understand. We are paying for those things. Tim's asking a great question. That is another form of revenue that is generated by the county, right? Because there's still interest on there. It may be low, but Stacy, your CDD at Epperson, that's like 30 years. Correct me if I'm wrong. The bond.
Yeah. Yep, 30 years.
The 30-year bond. Now they're paying it down each year, regardless of whether Stacy was there or not. But when they get to the end of that, guess what they're not going to do? They're not going to say, hey, you guys don't have to pay any of this CDD anymore. They're just going to say, you don't have to pay the loan portion back.
Right.
Right. But the upkeep in 30 years, do we think it's likely that you're going to have a lot of upkeep due at that point, Stacy? Roads, infrastructure, etc.
Oh yeah. Roads, lights.
So these are these insidious taxes they put on the back end to hammer us all. So, yeah, the good, the bad, and the ugly. That's the reality of it, Sandra. Like there are no free lunches. I think you said that earlier. Yes, she did. She said that on a comment. There are no free lunches, and I agree. Right. My mama taught me that at a young age. I know I'm a hard-headed knucklehead and, not the sharpest tool in the shed, but I know one thing. If I'm getting something for free, that means I'm the product. Mm-hmm. Right? You don't believe me? Go turn on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, whatever you want. We're the product on there, right? So good topic, y'all. Thanks for indulging me. You guys know I'd love to make sure you're on top of this. I'm very intrigued. I don't have an answer. Here's what I think. If they abolish property taxes, real estate values will increase. What they will increase, I don't know. There's other pressures and factors that are there, but boy, does it make becoming a Florida resident very attractive, right? No estate tax, meaning that when I pass away and go to the pearly gates, state doesn't get any of my money. My kids and my family do. Love that. Number one. Okay. Number two, no state income tax. And if you make a little bit of money, that's not a huge deal. But if you're a really high income earner, like a lot of people in this state, because it is not cheap to live here, it can be a huge windfall for you not paying those state sales tax. Right? Y'all, we got almost 5% of our money back annually every year. And that may not sound like a big deal, but I'm telling you right now, it made up for the increase in in homeowners insurance and auto insurance and then some. Right. So it was worth it to us to make those moves. It may or may not be for you, but those are benefits. And now if you talk about, again, if they remove our property taxes, I shared with you guys our bill, $8,300 will be our property tax in 2020, or is our property tax for 2024. 2025 that is due. That's what, $730 a month back in our pocket at home. And I'm not a big dog in the street. Y'all, you should see some of these tax bills we see, right, ladies?
Yeah.
Right. Some of these tax bills we see are, make your eyes pop out of your head, y'all. And we play in a fairly large sandbox, but most of our clients aren't 10 and 12, $15 million home buyers or homeowners, but we do serve up to typically around $3 million. And you take $3 million and you multiply that times 1.75, 1.8%. That number gets really large really fast. So think about how much that could stimulate our economy as well. Right? That gives a lot more flexibility to do things locally. It totally depends, Nick. I would be amiss if I told you a specific number. Just like everywhere else in the country, what's your zip code? That's going to highly affect your automotive insurance rate. What is your credit score? That actually affects I hate the fact that that's true, but it is, by the way. Your credit score does affect your insurance rates for both homeowner and auto and boat and everything else if you to have one of those too. So that's their location, the type of car it is, right? If it's lower to the ground, if it's higher to the ground, there's all kinds of things, man. But I will say this: we have two vehicles that are less than 2 years old. Kate Kate has a large SUV, and I have a pickup truck, a new pickup truck, and our insurance is right around $4,000 a year. No, every 6. Does that sound right? No, a year.
Yeah.
A year. It's every year. I don't have kid drivers yet, Stacey. I know you do.
Well, I'm up there.
Yes.
I'm up there.
We've had this conversation, but we were higher. It has gone down because people stopped running into us, which is excellent. I've shared this, these ladies know the first 3 years we lived in Florida, my vehicle was hit every year for the first 3 years. Twice in the parking lot, and the other time somebody ran in the back of us on the highway. Right, and what's crazy is I still get penalized.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. That's the crazy part, but it is what it is. Great question, man. Great question. Carol answered a little bit of this too. She said, we just moved from Los Angeles and we're paying about the same for car insurance, but with the higher liability limits. There you go. So we would have paid less if we kept the same coverage. Okay. Got it. And then we increased our liability here too, because that's pretty good for 2 cars. Yeah. Again, it's going to be different for everybody depending on where you're at. If you're right on the beach, that number may be entirely different, right? Overall. So, okay, cool. Let's get into, y'all. Thank you for indulging me on that. I just want to set this up by saying we have had one of the most incredible hurricane seasons to date, which has been fantastic. If you know our story, you know that my wife and I have all kinds of trauma around this. And currently there are 2 hurricanes sitting off the coast of Florida, which both look like they're going to hockey stick out to the Atlantic Ocean. And I shudder to say this out loud. Maybe I shouldn't. But it was from a local meteorologist who we really trust and respect. They said, this is the first time in recorded history a hurricane has not made U.S. landfall this far into the hurricane season. So it wasn't just us.
Say it, Juan. Don't say it.
So I was like, holy wow. Yeah. Well, I mean, that is a huge celebration. But I wanted to set that up because I know so many of us are like, we really got to talk about this. But Madison's got some good info, and I want to make sure she shares it. I'm not sharing this because we are worried about anything in the Atlantic Ocean currently or in the Gulf of America. All right.
Yes.
Just so we need to pre-frame the whole thing. Make sure we got everybody nice and settled. All right, Madison, what's going on? Talk to me.
Yes. So last year, it was actually September 26th, so 4 days ago, we got hit with Hurricane Helene. So the city of St. Pete posted an article of just explaining how we're getting stronger and wiser and more resilient from the past storms, and basically what we're doing to improve moving forward. So this is honestly like the positive side of things when talking about hurricanes. So they're doing some operational improvements and infrastructure improvements and readiness efforts and a bunch of things that I would like to read off and just highlight. So when it comes to the operational improvements, they've trained over 400 city staff members to assist with storm preparedness and recovery support.
Yep.
They've also have done pre-certified 8 debris management sites for immediate response after a storm. And they're also developing a hometown haulers program into the city to for 100 drivers to help move debris if there was ever a future storm. So that's great. And then they've also hosted a full-scale training exercise with 30 plus city employees and leaders to ensure that the organization is prepared for any potential future disasters, which we are not hoping for. But
Yep. Awesome. And that we have seen some headway, but we definitely, I'm just gonna, I always want to be transparent with everybody. We've got a ways to go in St. Pete, y'all. The infrastructure there is old. The infrastructure in downtown Tampa is old. Like most major United States cities, we have some work to do. A lot of our major metros were established 100 years ago. That's not unique. I'm from Detroit, right? People from Pittsburgh, they have those experiences. If you're from the Northeast, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So like, I don't think that's out of the ordinary. However, the amount of rain that we can get at any time period, I remember that being one of the most shocking things to me when I first moved here. So much so that our incredible 83-year-old neighbor, she was 79 then, right? Came over like because the first week we moved here was in December and it rained. I mean, like y'all, I would have thought that Moses was sending out another ship here, right? Like, just wild. How much water we were getting there, and Noah's Ark was about to just firmly, pull up to my front door, and be like, dude, we got to go, right? So like this is where we were. And she comes over and knocks on the door, and she's from Wisconsin originally. They were from Madison area. And she goes, I remember what it was like 40 something years ago. We moved here and how much it shook me. And she's like, this is normal. You guys are going to be okay. And I was like, and I'm standing there like, I'm fine. Everything's all right. But like the night before, Kate and I were like, what is happening here? Like, it was so crazy how much it rained. And like, I remember, ladies, like, we don't carry umbrellas for the most part, and I thought that was strange and I couldn't really figure out why. And then somebody's like, dude, it rains sideways. And I was like, oh yeah, that's right.
It comes down so much and so fast. The umbrella's not
it works when there's a nice drizzle, but as we know, like usually it rains. When it rains, it rains. So it's just a different world. Now that can overwhelm our infrastructure, and some of those low-lying areas really can get beat up. So if you guys are looking at areas like Gulfport, South Pasadena, definitely some spots in St. Petersburg, you need to be very mindful. You need to make sure you're asking Madison detailed questions about the neighborhoods that you live in, because it is important what neighborhood you pick if you're going to live in St. Pete and in specific areas in Tampa. If you're going to go hang out in Pasco County with Stacy, God bless you. Most of you are going to be high and dry for the most part, which is awesome. But she also can help guide you, because there were homes that were affected days after after Milton came through. Right. Rivers they crested and there were challenges there. So I'm not trying to scare anyone. We just always want to make sure we're being very transparent and we're helping you guys look out for the potential landmines, because, just about everywhere in this country, you're going to have challenges on where you live. All right. So just be mindful of that. But that's great. That's great info. That is on the St. Petersburg website. Again, I'll link that in the description later so y'all can have that. As a matter of fact, for anybody who's on the chat right now, let's just throw the comments for everybody to have. I don't want you guys waiting on me at all. 5B says primary only unless you BlackRock. Of course, they will find a loophole. Of course, I agree. There's no doubt, man. We tend to agree that will be the reality of that situation also. So, okay, cool. Stacy has got some stuff lined up for this evening. What are we talking about? Where are you taking me right now?
Well, I'm talking about at the edge of Wesley Chapel's booming development. We have new neighborhoods and businesses popping up overnight. There is 1,000 acres of land, known as Kirkland Ranch.
Yes.
That's located, I don't know if you have the map, but it's located east of Curly Road, and it's in the Villages at Pasadena Hills. So if you were watching our live last weekend or last Tuesday, we were talking about this huge master plan community that's coming to the area, like 20,000 acres, called the Villages at Pasadena Hills. Well, 1,000 acres of that extends north of the Watergrass community. And the developers have had their eye on this land for quite some time. But the family that owns Kirkland Ranch has asked the state to purchase the land so they could so the land would be protected and out of the hands of developers.
Oh.
Yeah. So after 3 years, the state agreed and approved the purchase of the sale. So they are going to purchase that land for $30.8 million.
Wow.
Yep. And so that 1,000 acres is going to be protected conservation.
Wow.
This is very interesting. Okay. Well, I'm sure you can hear all of Wesley Chapel, San Antonio, and Western Pasco County rejoicing.
Yes. Yeah, sure. So the thing I'm a little nervous about, though, how we were talking about all that population coming out here.
Yeah.
And they were going to have road projects to, ease
Yep.
some of all this crazy congestion. Well, this is going to affect some of that.
Sure.
Because
Sure.
some of those roads were supposed to cut through
Yep.
that land. So there's two projects. There was one that was going to be a north-south corridor that was going to run diagonal through
Yep.
Kirkland Ranch.
Mhm.
That's probably not going to happen now. And then there was another extension that was going to run behind the two schools, the Kirkland Ranch Academy of Innovations, and then Kirkland Ranch K through 8 schools.
Yep.
There's supposed to be a road extension that was going to run behind there. So
right through here, like this Pasadena area right there, Stacey. Is that what you're referring to? Yep. Hold on,
Yeah.
let me grab the map for y'all real quick. She's talking about like right through this area. Yep.
Yeah. So
Interesting.
they'll have to go back to the drawing board on that one.
Okay. Yeah. And that was just announced. They were talking about like what, 40,000 homes, something wild over there, right? Like,
Yeah.
we were just talking about this. That's fascinating. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks for keeping us up on that. What else we got?
Yeah, so there's some new things coming to Wesley Chapel. There's a City Furniture. Have you guys shopped at a City Furniture before?
I have never been in a city.
No, but I was down in Bradenton. I've seen quite a few City Furnitures, and they're huge. They're humongous.
Enormous store.
So City Furniture is coming across the street from Tampa Premium Outlets, right next to Floor and Decor and Hobby Lobby. For all my Hobby Lobby fanatics out there, you know exactly where I'm talking about. And next to that is a Homes 2 Suites, which I think is a Hilton Hotel.
Yep.
Yep.
And that is right by Popstroke, y'all.
Yes. Yep.
For those of you who don't know, there's several hotels out there. Stacey, we often get questions like, where should we stay when we're coming to check out Wesley Chapel, Land O'Lakes? That's a great spot, right?
Yes,
so you got the Hyatt Place in Tampa, the Homewood Suites is there. There's a whole bunch of stuff right on that corner. So like, you guys shouldn't have to worry about, but like, there are a lot of restaurants there too. There's a Ford Garage, which we've eaten at a few times. Bahama Breeze is over there. There's a whole, everything. They've got everything over there. And then when you go across the street to the outlets, there's breweries and like Costco's over there, Target's over there. Y'all can get anything you need.
Yep. Everything you need, and easy access in and off the interstate as well.
Yeah. Super easy to get in and off the highway from there. So, okay, cool. That's good.
Well, and I got one more exciting announcement. This is my favorite one. There is a new ice cream shop coming to the shops at Wiregrass called Odd Fellows. So they're having their grand opening this Friday.
Okay.
So
fun.
Serving classics with a twist. Why does that look like a monkey? What's happening here? Talk to me about this.
I have one of these in Hyde Park.
Oh. Why do I not recognize the name?
I don't know, but we got.
Oh yeah, you're right. Now I remember. I know exactly where this is at. Yes. Okay. Goodfellows. Awesome stuff. We definitely have eaten there before too. They had macaroons in there. My daughters love macaroons. They were awesome. There's so much good food downtown. I love ice cream, y'all. Oh,
me too.
So
cookies and ice cream. I have no self-control when it comes
cookies
to
and not me either. Cookies and cream. Is that what you said?
Yes. I love
All right, Madison. What about you? What's your go-to?
Definitely a Dairy Queen chocolate brownie extreme blizzard.
Not that she knows, but if she did,
she is very specific.
Every Sunday.
That is awesome. I love it. She has the date down. I love y'all. Let us know. I know this is completely random. Be like, what are we talking about? Reels. Listen, y'all. Let us know what your favorite ice cream is. I love to know stuff like this. Now, I am a multifaceted lover of ice cream. So I'll just say that up front. I am willing to take the plunge on new flavors. Here's what I won't touch: Superman. Anything that's blue like that, Smurf, whatever. Like, I don't want any part of that. It's not good. Like my staple, if I was left alone on a private island with only one ice cream, what would that be? It would be Tillamook's mint chocolate chip, which is unbelievable. But the fat kid in me that has no self-control, like Stacey's talking about right now, if you set me down with a tub of Tillamook mudslide, I will eat the entire carton in one second. So don't do it. Don't bring it in the house. It's just dangerous. Like I said, I would love to know what you guys got going Desiree says she loves peppermint candy ice cream. That's got to be refreshing, like peppermint.
Ooh, I do love a good peppermint ice cream too.
Yeah, that's interesting. That is pretty cool. So Stacy's not covered up. Nick says, oh God, Juan likes toothpaste flavor. Listen, when you have there's a difference between like, I understand if you're like Kroger brand or Publix brand mint, like it's fake, it's fakey, it just tastes not good. A great mint ice cream, it's creamy. The mint is not over the top. It should be white. If it's green, you already know you're in a bad spot, y'all. I know that's what most people get. Well, that Sandra said she'll be going straight to craft beer. Good choice, like that. I'm a huge IPA fan myself. I like bitter beer, but hey, it's all good. I'll have a great stout as well. Judgy says rainbow sherbet, summer vibes. Well, in the summer, I can't go wrong there. And listen, a great sherbet or Italian ice is awesome on a hot day.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And again, like I said, I have no control when it comes to ice cream. That is like bad deal. What do you say? Okay, I'll tell them look mint. Yeah, do it. You won't be disappointed. Any of their ice cream I'm telling you guys, it's good. And here's what I love. They're like one of the only brands that isn't owned by one of the 3 conglomerates of everything. They are still family owned and operated. They're not a small company anymore, but Tillamook is in Oregon, I believe. But their cheese is amazing. And again, don't get me started on food, y'all. You know how I do it, right?
Well, hey, Sandra is coming to town here in a couple of weeks. So, I think she's going to stay in the Channel District.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Give her some good places to go to get some craft beer.
Oh, that's good. So downtown, specifically, there's not as much there. Well, you definitely want to go to Florida Avenue Brewing Company. That is just north of downtown, Sandra. So you can do that. There is a really good brewery in Ybor, and the name escapes me right now. Not Three Daughters. I think it is. Their primary beer is called Donkey Reef. That's a fish, y'all, for those of you wondering. These are Florida things. Wonderful. But Florida Avenue is great. They've got good food there, too. So definitely worth checking out. There's also a Florida Avenue, a big brewery in Wesley Chapel. That's one of my favorite places to go. The kids love going there. The food is outstanding. Stacy, how many clients have we taken there? A ton.
Yeah.
Right?
A ton. Yeah.
It's wonderful. They have great food there as well. So those are good. St. Pete. You're going to be in Channel District. You can hop over in about 20 minutes, 25 minutes if you wanted to do that too. There's 10 breweries in St. Petersburg you'll love. Green Bench, whole bunch of other ones. They're all right there as well. But for downtown Tampa and Channel side, you definitely want to go, hang out in those areas down there. There is a beer garden right on Channel side. So when you go down there, there's a bunch of restaurants right next to the cruise ships on Norwegian there. And that's at the wharf. So it's called Sparkman's Wharf, and there's a beer garden down there. It's awesome. Lots of great food too. They've got some really unique food vendors out of shipping containers there. And like I said, your backdrop is either going to be the bay, or you're going to be looking at cruise ships because it's right there. The aquarium's right next door. That's where they're going to put the Tampa Wow, the giant Ferris wheel. That's all that's going there. So it's a great spot, Sandra. They do live music. It's a cool place to hang. It's a really good time. Really good time. Let me see here. Judgy says, any recs for must-try food restaurants in the St. Pete Clearwater? Yeah, hit us up. Reach out to me. The number's on the screen. We'll get you guys dialed in. Happy to do that. We are foodies, barely drinkers though. All good. Here's the thing to keep in mind though, for anybody who isn't a drinker but you love food. I want to give you guys some insights because I was in the alcohol industry for a long time. If you hear somebody's got great drinks, most of the time they have great food as well. Because what you won't typically find is somebody who has great libations and not a great kitchen. They really go hand in hand. So if you don't always have great food and great drinks, but if you ever hear somebody say, hey, they have great drinks and there's a restaurant attached, 99% of the time you're going to have excellent food. right? Because that means they're treating all of that seriously from every single experience that you're having. And that stuff matters. And for those of you who aren't aware what a great drink looks like, if you don't drink, which I understand, if you walk into any restaurant and you see someone order an old fashioned, if they take a maraschino cherry and an orange and put them in there and muddle them, it's time to leave. Right? Tip your waitress for the water, walk away. You're not going to have a good experience. Not from food, not from diet. Like, it's not going to be good. And y'all, I gave you that little insight, but I'm serious, right? If you ask about a margarita, even if you don't drink, if they say they use sour mix and not simple syrup and fresh lime, pay your bill and leave. The food is not going to make, trust me, you're going to bought this. You're hitting substandards. Now, if you're on the beach and you want to do that, I totally get it. It's a whole different world. But if you are a real foodie and you want quality food, those are two, like, ask your drinking friends, and then they'll point you to places where they have really good food. All right. Let me see. Good to know. Don't feel like that's the case up here. I can point you to some places, right? So definitely got some good spots up there as well. Go downtown, man. Go to the Prime and Proper. Incredible dining experience if you haven't been there before. Talking about in downtown Detroit. Miss Grider, good evening.
Hi, Ashley.
Ashley's in the house. Y'all will see Ashley this Saturday. That's very exciting.
It's her debut.
It is her debut. Not on the live stream. You guys have seen her on the live stream, but it will be her debut on the long form. We had one heck of a property tour. First of all, it's not short, but it is worth watching. Stacy and Ashley did an incredible job of actually sharing, like, how they would set up a home. Right. Mm-hmm. Because you walk into new construction, it's always done to the nines. And but she definitely shared, like, both of them shared how they would live in it, how they might move some things around, what makes the most sense for them. It was really fun to do that and have that experience. So we're looking forward to it. And I thought they did a great job on the video. So can't wait to see it. Hit the publish button on Saturday morning. So check that out. Let me say here. Desiree says Madison did an awesome job in the video for St. Peace. Yes, she did. She crushed it.
Thank you, Desiree.
She crushed it. That was a fun video to do too. You guys know that it's hard with the property tours because not everybody loves the property tour, which I understand, but we really try to get in there and share, like, how we would live in it. Because I think that is the most helpful thing. I know everybody's not us, but sometimes it's hard to see a space and imagine what you're doing in it or how you would live in it.
Yeah.
And I think that to me, that's always a huge value. I love when the ladies share because I don't necessarily catch all the stuff. When Kate was designing the kitchen, I was like, put the stuff in. What does it matter? And she's like, no, it matters. She's like, because if I have to go this way and this way. And I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. You know, and I used to work in a commercial kitchen for years in college. So, like, having everything right there, right? Like, it mattered, you know, where my knives were, like, everything, because there's a lot of people in there moving around, and, like, I get it. So she was very adamant about, like, where the dishwasher was in proximity to the sink, how deep the sink was, not having dual zones in the sink, right? Like, there was so much specificity around this stuff. I was like, this is wild, y'all, but, like, it matters. And when we went through this home tour this week, those ladies were showing me again, like, it was one of those things. The house we were in, 5-bedroom home, not a small house, by the way. Mm-hmm. And I felt like the bedrooms were smaller than they needed to be. And then I walked into the master suite and I was like, oh, that's why. Right. And then also the bonus level they have on that property. It was huge. The couch on the balcony there in the bonus level was bigger than the house in the primary spot. And the one in the living room was not undersized. Mm-hmm. Right? So, like, I just thought it was an interesting layout. Definitely, I want to get you guys' opinion when you see that this Saturday. Let us know. Judgy says she loves a good property tour. Well, good. You'll see one on Saturday. So happy to do that. Ladies, thank you for all of your insights, of course. Thank you for hanging out with us live. Got a vacation coming up sometime soon. I know. Did I bounce off again?
Yeah.
I think I know what it is. It's Instagram. Anyways, poor Instagram people. They never get all the love, and now it's definitely affecting something going on here. But ladies, thank you for your contribution as usual. I know we're planning on being back next Tuesday. at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So don't know where you're at. You definitely make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit the like button too. We'll put the resources in the comments down below. Again, if you're watching this later and you have questions or comments, 2 ways to get hold of us. One, you can put a comment in the chat. Happy to answer those questions you have in there as well. But if you're considering making a move to the area and you have more questions for these ladies, please feel free to reach out to us directly. There's 2 ways you can do it. If you're watching this on the tube right now, you can pick up your phone, snap that little QR code up to the my right there. My left, and that'll take you directly to our website, or you can text the number on the screen. That'll take you right to my phone, and that'll take you right to us as well. If you want to talk to one of these ladies specifically, please feel free to put their name in the form when you fill it out, and then we'll connect with you guys. I think we have 3 meetings for the remainder of the week. This is that time of the year where things start to get a little bit slower, but we know it's going to pick up. So thank y'all for trusting in us and serving us. Like I said, I had to respond to 6 5-star reviews, which, breaks my heart in the best kind of way.
That's tough.
Yeah, you all are amazing. So ladies, we're going to sign off this evening. What do we say every single week? As always, go out
and live that
Tampa life.
life.
You were right on. All right, y'all. Have a great evening. Take care.